Hi everyone, my name is Jen with 2 N's, and I use she, her pronouns. And this is another booktube video. My Instagram handle for books is read.with.2njen, and that's where you can find me if you want to look there. But for today, I will be talking about A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. And Liz has taken a lot of different Disney tales, Disney fairy tales, and is asking different questions to put a spin on them to see how things could have turned out differently if other things happened. She's not the only one. There's another author who has also done this for Mulan's Tale, and I believe another one, but I can't remember the name of that author right now. But that's what I'll be talking about today, is one of her twisted tales. And before I get into that though, I just wanted to briefly talk about why I like fairy tales so much. So I think that they're super cool because so much can be done with them. Like there's the original story, right? But then you can do different things, like put them in different cultural context or ask different questions like how Liz does, and the story could have a totally different ending, and even just story in and of itself, like the events can happen completely differently depending upon the different cultural context, time period, or question that you ask of where the story takes you. And I just think that that's really interesting. So for today, I want to talk about the first twisted tale that I read, which was on Aladdin and Jasmine's story, and it's called A Whole New World. And the question that Liz asks is, what happened if Jafar got to the genie first, or asked questions, or rubbed the little lampy guy before Aladdin did? And if you're thinking that that turned out poorly, you would be correct. Turned out super poorly. One thing that I've read, I think almost all of Liz's versions of her twisted tales, and they get dark. Like, on Disney, people don't die unless you're like Mufasa or other characters that die. Liz don't care. Liz kills people, and it's really sad. But in the original tale, and even in the Disney movie, it's super similar in the very beginning of A Whole New World. And so I really liked how Liz really delved into what life could be like as a street rat in the city of Agrabah. She really goes into looking at what life would be like for the kids, and even Aladdin's mom is there, and so you can see kind of what that play would look like. And when you learn why Aladdin's dad is there, because he went to go look, from my understanding, I'm pretty sure that he just went to go look for a better life or something to better his family's life. I'm not sure which one it was, but he wasn't there. And so you could really see what life could be like for somebody who would be identified as a street rat living in that city. So I really appreciated that take. Something else that I really liked about Liz's story for Aladdin and Jasmine was that, how usually in Disney movies, princesses are they just can't do a whole lot for themselves. I mean, there are some, I feel like even Jasmine and the Disney Aladdin, she is typically more of a strong, independent woman than other princesses. I don't know. I feel like Cinderella is pretty lame, but then again, I just don't like Cinderella very much. But there's, typically Disney princesses, they can't do a lot for themselves. They need princes around. Well, they need princes around. Whereas in this version of A Twisted Tale for A Whole New World, Jasmine is just super able to take care of things. She is a good starter. She takes the initiative to start things. And even there's this one scene where Aladdin is going to the palace to rescue Jasmine, and as he's turning the handle to open and let her out, Jasmine is already turning the handle on her side of the door, and they bump into each other. And so even then, she didn't necessarily need Aladdin to get her out of the palace. She was already working on it for herself. So I just really liked that there's the princesses in these tales aren't damsels in distress. They actually do things. And that's consistent from all the tales that I've read so far by Liz Braswell for her twisted tales. So that's one thing that I really liked about it. Another thing that I liked about it, I honestly think that was the thing that I liked most about the tale, was just a different look at Jasmine and even her interaction with the genie. So that's one thing that I wasn't a huge fan of with this one, was that with the genie, we didn't see a whole lot of him, but I mean, while it makes sense in the context of the story because Jafar got the lamp first, so therefore he's going to have access to the genie. And if you're fighting against Jafar, you're obviously not going to be interacting with the genie because the genie's with Jafar. So I mean, that makes sense, but it just sucks because I really liked the genie in the cartoon version of Aladdin. I really liked Robin Williams' take on the genie. I thought that he just did a super good job and just made the genie really funny and just funny and silly, but still like had some depth to him. But we didn't really get to see a whole lot of the genie in this tale because, again, like he's with Jafar because he's Jafar's dude for most of it, not because he wants to, but just because that's how the lamps were rubbed, you know? So that is one thing that I wasn't a huge fan of, but again, it makes sense. Just kind of sucked. I liked Aladdin's relationship with his like friends. So like he was friends with a couple of street rats when he was younger, and his mom like wasn't a huge fan of said friends because they were like the bad influence kids. And when they're older, these friends basically like are the leaders of this like group of like kid street rats. And I liked Aladdin's relationship with the two of them. If you watch the show, the anime, is it Magi? I'm not sure how they pronounce it in the anime, but Morgiana is a character in that anime, and she's like one of the best characters. But there's also Morgiana, who is Aladdin's friend in this Twisted Tale. So whenever I hear the name Morgiana when I watch the anime, I think of the Morgiana in this book, and I could see them being kind of similar. They're not, because like very different backstories, but just the name. It's a name, so I just thought that was interesting when I started watching that anime. And definitely not at all related to this Twisted Tale, except for the fact that they have the same name, but I thought it was interesting. So there's that, but I liked his relationship with the two of them. But Aladdin overall, I honestly didn't really like his character very much in this book. I felt like he was very much like the way too like lovey-dovey guy who's like, oh my god, I love this girl and I just need to be with her kind of a thing. The love struck, that's the word. I just didn't like how he was with that. I'm also not a huge fan of like romance novels, and so that could be part of the reason why, is because I just don't like romance novels. Like, just tell me the story, like we don't need to have all this other stuff in it. And I get that him liking her was like a huge reason of like why, you know, all this other stuff happened and why he was involved at all, because if he didn't like her, quite honestly, none of this story would have happened, right? If he didn't like think that she was super cute in the marketplace and then like all the things, obviously the story wouldn't be a thing. So I understand why talking about their relationship makes sense, but I mean, dude, just stop. Like, stop it. You're dealing with a corrupt sorcerer who's like taken over the town, you know, he's like taken over the city of Agrabah. I think that your love life could like be put on pause until like lives are saved, you know, like it doesn't, you can just. So I use a 1 through 5 star rating, and that's just how I think best about when I rate books, is just on like a 1 to 5 rating. And so for 1 stars means I didn't like it, nothing really clicked for me, I probably had to force myself to finish it. I know that there's lots of like people who DNF, do not finish books. Maybe I'll change my mind one day. I don't like it. I don't think that I'm better than people who don't finish books. Like, it makes perfect, I totally understand like the whole I don't want to waste my time on a book that's crap to me. I totally get that. And I also just like, if I started it, I just feel the need to finish it, even if I'm skimming. And to some people that's not finishing, but I mean, college taught me how to skim. High school taught me some kind of educational background taught me how to skim. So if I'm not really into a book, I find myself skimming, but I just have to like skim to the end kind of a thing. So that's my 1 stars. 2 stars, I didn't really enjoy the book. There's only some minor things that stood out to me, and I'd only recommend it to people, but with reservations. So I'd be like, yeah, sure, maybe read this book, but here's A, B, C, D, E through Z as to why I didn't like it. But if you want to read it, check it out. Whereas ones I'd be like, never even crack the cover. And there's only, I think I've encountered like maybe 5 1-star books in my life. So yeah, 3 stars. Meh, like recommendation depends upon who I'm talking to. I don't necessarily have like issues with the book. It's just kind of like meh, like it's a meh. 4, I really enjoyed the book and I recommend the read, but I have like some minor issues with like the story. A 5, I loved the book, completely recommend, and I don't have any major issues at all. So again, I gave this particular Twisted Tale a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I liked it because of really mainly Jasmine, and I like how she described the world of Agrabah, and I like the question that she put, like if Jafar were to have gotten to the lamp first. So I really liked the whole premise of the book, and I love Jasmine's character. And Aladdin bugged me. I don't know, there just were like a couple of parts that were just, I don't know, it's just 3 out of 5 again. Like I have to get better at verbally explaining why and some things that bother me about books, because like it's just like a feeling where I'm like, but I need to get better at like explaining exactly what that looks like, because that's the whole point of having one of these, is to talk about it. But if you're like me and you have a hard time putting into words as to why you're not a huge fan of something, or why you are a fan of something, you just can't like put words to it, let me know. I'm sure can't be the only one. So that's that 3.5 out of 5 stars for this Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell, a whole new world that centers around Jasmine and Aladdin in the city of Agrabah, asking what if Jafar got the genie first. So that's that. Let me know what your thoughts are below. And if you want to check out my Instagram, read.with.2andjen, and the dots are periods. So read, yeah, if you want to, totally don't have to, but just if you want to. And yeah, that's it. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts, questions, concerns below, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.